All right, today we're getting into a really powerful film from 2022 called Sniper: The White Raven. It's one of those stories that starts with a personal tragedy, but ends up becoming a symbol for an entire nation's resistance. This quote right here, it absolutely nails the core theme of the film. Because, you see, this story doesn't kick off on some gritty battlefield. No, it starts in a quiet, loving home. A place that feels like it's a million miles away from any kind of conflict. So let's really dig into this question. The whole movie is basically an exploration of this idea, seen through the eyes of its main character, Makoila. He's a man whose entire worldview, his entire philosophy on life, is about to be completely shattered by an act of just unimaginable brutality. So, when we first meet Makoila, he is the furthest thing from a soldier. Seriously, the guy is living this peaceful, off-the-grid life with his wife, and he has absolutely no idea that war is quite literally about to show up on his doorstep. I mean, just look at this description. He's a high school teacher, a physicist, no less. A man who thinks the best way to guide young people is through logic and peace. He and his wife are so cut off from everything, they don't even have a TV. They are completely clueless about the political storm that's brewing all around them. And then, that peaceful little bubble they've built just bursts. It's violent, it's sudden. Russian soldiers stumble upon their hidden home, and in a truly horrific moment, they murder his pregnant wife, Nastya, and then burn their house to the ground. In that single devastating moment, everything about Makoila changes. You know, all those pacifist ideals he held so dear, they're basically incinerated right along with his home. They're replaced by this raw, all-consuming need for revenge. And that need puts him on a direct path to join the Ukrainian army. So this is the really critical part of the story, right? How does a physics teacher turn himself into a deadly weapon? This isn't just about him signing up. It's a total reinvention of who he is as a person. You can actually map out his transformation. It really happens in 4 clear stages. First, his life is just utterly destroyed. Then, from those ashes, a soldier is forged through some pretty grueling training. But he doesn't stop there. He specializes, using his background in physics and math to become a sniper. And all of that training, all of that pain, it's all leading to one single final step: acquiring his target. Now, this is a really interesting detail. The codename he takes on is Raven, and it's not random at all. It actually comes from a story his wife once told him, a legend about a raven that sacrificed its white feathers to save others. So, in a way, he's carrying her and her memory with him into this new violent life. It's a tragic, constant reminder of exactly what he's fighting for. And the director, Marion Bouchon, does something really clever to show us what's happening inside Makoila's head. Before the tragedy, the whole film is shot in these warm, soft, almost dreamlike colors. But afterwards, all that warmth is just sucked out of the screen. It's replaced by a cold, harsh blue and gray world that totally reflects his new, isolated and revenge-driven mindset. Okay, but here's the thing you have to know. This isn't just some made-up movie plot. The story of a teacher who becomes a soldier is actually deeply rooted in a real person's experiences during the war in Donbass. Get this, the real Makoila Voronon, the actual guy who went through this kind of transformation from an academic to a soldier, he co-wrote the screenplay. That fact alone gives the story we see on screen this incredibly raw, undeniable foundation of truth. And the timing of this film is just unreal. It was made to tell the story of a war that, at the time, had already been going on for 8 years. But then, right as it's being released, the world completely changes. The 2022 full-scale invasion gave this movie a whole new layer of tragic urgency that nobody, not even the creators, could have ever seen coming. All right, so what did people think of it? Because even though the story itself is incredibly powerful, the critics were, well, they were pretty divided on how that story was told. So you've got 2 very different camps. On one side, the film got tons of praise for its emotional lead performance and for being this potent symbol of Ukrainian resilience. But on the other side, a lot of international critics said, hey, this feels like a lot of other war movies we've seen, you know, the training montages, the clear good guys versus bad guys. But here's a really important thing to consider. For an audience in Ukraine in the middle of a war, those cliches might not be a weakness at all. They can work as a kind of powerful, patriotic myth-making, a way to create a clear, inspiring story when everything is chaos. A lot of reviewers really honed in on its relevance. They saw it as more than just a movie. It was a vital piece of art that captured the national spirit right when that spirit was being tested the most. But then you've got the other perspective, like this critic from The Guardian. They felt that the true story, which was so powerful, kind of got flattened into a standard genre movie. The argument was that by hitting all the usual war movie beats, it might have lost some of the messy, complicated truth of what it was trying to show. So, setting aside the mixed reviews for a second, what's the real importance of this film? Why is it one you should know about today? When you boil it down, the legacy of this movie is about a few really key things. It's about how a single person's quest for revenge can grow to symbolize an entire nation's fight for its very survival. It's also this fascinating historical document whose meaning was completely changed by events that happened after it was made. And finally, it's a huge part of this new wave of Ukrainian cinema, where filmmakers are telling their own stories of war from their own point of view. So in the end, a story that started as this intimate character study about vengeance became something so much bigger. It became a global statement on the human cost of war and how ordinary people can be forced to become warriors just to survive. And that's really the big, haunting question that Sniper: The White Raven leaves you with. It's a question that makes this film more than just a movie. It makes it a vital, compelling piece of cinema that's essential to understanding our world right now.